Hello, this is John, the Veg Fisherman. It's been a few days since I worked on any fishing reels. I finally fixed my tray. I had to get the humps out of it because I felt like I was working on a mountaintop. I had to cut the tray, and I cut a piece of, on suggestion of my girlfriend, I cut a piece of plexiglass to go in there. But today I'm working on a Daiwa 4000, and you know I love these reels. Anybody knows me knows this is what I grew up fishing with on the Outer Banks, on the piers. I caught a nice 20-pound bluefish on one of these, which that wasn't nothing real unusual back then, but it's still a nice fish. And I'm trying to cut this without going to the yard tonight. Let's see if I can't get it right there. There we go. Piece of fishing line stuck to it. And I've got several of these reels on the shelf to rebuild, and I just haven't got to them. And I thought, well, I like them so much, let's do a video on them. This one's in decent shape. The side plate's loose. We're gonna glue that back on. This handle's a little stiff. It's not throwing all the way, so all that's bent. Otherwise, it seems to be working. So let's dive in and see what we got. Okay, first thing, there's a Teflon washer up under there that wasn't supposed to stick to the spool. So we'll get that out. That's supposed to be on the end of the shaft there. We're going to take this retaining clip out and take a look at the drag. The drag on these reels is pretty spectacular. It's, I don't know, Daiwa just got it right back in the day. They were just really good at what they did. There is no corrosion on that spool. This thing's never seen salt water. And here's how it lays out. You got a leather washer, thick keyed washer, Teflon, eared washer, Teflon, and your top washer is keyed. There you go. Now your handle is retained by a screw. Let's take that off. That screw is actually made where you can use a coin on it. Let's just say that the end of this pin wrench is a coin. You can just take a coin and tighten that up. If it gets loose on you out in the field, never had that happen before. You can switch the handle in the field if you just wanted to. The handle will slide out. Now that plate came off, and I'm glad I got that plate because now it's a complete reel. You know, everything's there. This is stuck pretty good. Let's spray some good old WD-40 down in there and get that loosening up. Look how quick that worked. I'm telling you, that WD-40 is some good stuff. The handle's in good shape otherwise, just a little sticky. Let's put that like that. Get me a rag here. I use these wiping cloths from Ace Hardware. They're perfect for working on fishing reels. When you get them all greased up, greasy, nasty from your hands or the reel, just throw them in the trash. You can wash them if you want to, if you're real frugal. All right, we're going to take the side cover off. It's a number 1 Phillips. We'll hit it with the snap-on here. Boy, it's nice to be able to work on this tray again without those humps in it that drove me nuts. Parts would roll here and roll there. Yeah, it was fun. Now I can kind of get everything in one place. That was a great suggestion by my girlfriend to fix this. I like the tray because if something falls, it normally does not bounce. It just rolls. And the sides of the tray stop it. Okay, there's your side cover. Not a lot going on there. We'll clean it up. We'll re-glue that label or emblem. There is a bearing. That's one of your bearings. It's pretty corroded. There's a shim underneath there. Let's get my special little screwdriver that I like to use to get these shims out. And you'll see I've taken an eyeglass screwdriver and put just a slight bend in it. Works perfect for getting shims and other things. Okay, I really can't take this out yet because I got to take this loose right here. You can use your number 1 Phillips. Take this loose and shake that out. Pull your shaft right on out there. Shaft going to require a little extra cleaning. It's just like anything else. You know, you've heard me say this 100 times. It's the grease is just dried all the way up in this reel. This reel was probably made in the 80s, early 80s. And yeah, they I think they started making the Silver Series in the late 70s, so mid to late 70s. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if you know more about them than I do. I've used them all my life. That doesn't make me an expert. Then you take this apart. Now, this is a 2-bearing reel. You got a bushing on that side. There's no shims. Okay. There's no shims up under here. We got all those off. No shims there. This is just a bunch of nastiness, to be honest with you. You just going to have to go through and get it all off of there. The cleaner will take a lot of it, but it won't take anything that heavy. I use Simple Green in my ultrasonic cleaner with a little bit of Dawn dishwashing soap and water. I use about a gallon. My cleaner is a 3-gallon unit. It's a nice commercial grade unit. I started out with the Harbor Freight, and I like the Harbor Freight, but because I clean firearms, it was a little bit small to put a full receiver and barrel in. So I purchased this commercial grade. When I still have my Harbor Freight, I still use it. I use it to clean eyeglasses, jewelry, small carburetors, because I'm a mechanic, you know. Got to fix stuff all the time. Always fixing stuff. Grills aren't my only passion. I'm a Jeeper. I've got a old diesel pickup, an old Power Stroke. And so I spent a lot of time playing and fixing on everything. Used to have my own lawn mowing company, so I was always working on my equipment for that. I mowed yards on the side for a lot of years so I could afford my hobbies. But what I was saying about the ultrasonic, I use 2 gallons of water to a gallon of Simple Green, just a regular old Simple Green. And there, that's ready to go in the cleaner. And a little bit of Dawn soap. Just a couple squirts. The Dawn really, it does make a difference. I mean, this is just gummed up. I mean, look at that. Just stuck. Old grease. If you leave your rods and reels in the sun or in your car where it's hot, or in a hot garage or a storage building, they're gonna the lube's gonna dry up. You know, you can't expect the lube to stay elastic and slippery all the time. It's gonna dry up on you. So be prepared if you store like that. I'm not saying it's bad for the reels or the rods, but just expect to have a little bit extra, you know, repairs here and there. So Still cleaning. I'm cleaning this one as I go. You know, I don't always do it like this. I like to mix it up too, you know. This stuff this reel will be like brand new when I get done with it. I'm not gouging, folks. It might sound that way, but I'm really just letting the screwdriver just kind of run along and get this nastiness out of there. You won't even see it. When I clean this up, you won't even see a scrape where I've been through it. I'm not digging deep at all. I clean all these bodies. Anything that's painted does not go in the ultrasonic. I learned a long time ago, if it's got a painted surface, if it's got any printing on the surface, let's see if I've got anything handy close by. Well, here's a reel I'm going to do in a little bit. If it's, this is not, well, I guess it is vintage. I mean, this is probably from the 90s. But this Solstice on here, 2000 FE, if you put this body in the ultrasonic, it will start taking that off first. It'll eventually take all this paint off. It'll just be like a white plastic. Same thing with the spool. Anything with stickers, I don't put in there. Anodized surfaces like on this beautiful 6000 here, I don't put that in there. I clean all this stuff. I've got a 3-gallon vat of WD-40. That's where I put everything, and I clean it that way. Look how gummy this thing is. Just big clumps coming off. So let's take the rotor nut off of it. I think that's going to be a 14, and I'm thinking right. Take the rotor nut off. The rotor should just slide right off. We'll take the rotor apart in a minute. Alright, now you got your anti-reverse on off right here. I think I'm going to go ahead and take all that apart just so I can clean good. I want to take this bearing out. I'm going to clean the bearing separately. So we're going to take, let's pull the bearing first. There's 3 retaining screws on this plate that holds the bearing and the pinion in place. I try to keep everything together, take it apart as best I can. That came out really easy. Wasn't expecting it to go like that. And we got the bearing out. I'll clean it with another rag. The bearings are shielded, but they're not sealed. Okay, so you can. I'm going to clean them in a cleaner that I use. Just to get, so they'll soak down in there pretty good and get the gumminess out of them. That bearing there actually does have a seal on it. That one's sealed, the handle bearing. I use this solution here. It's not anything fancy. It's just some CLP like you use to clean a gun. So it's Clean Lube Protect. Is it the best thing in the world for bearings? Damned if I know. I'll cook these. I'll get that stuff boiling. Okay, I'll put it on a hot plate and get it boiling, and it'll clean those bearings out really, really well. I'll set those back there for now. Let them soak and clean out. still cleaning up the so I always take a screwdriver, turn it with the blade, and just real easily just go through here. Boy, those teeth were just plumb full of crud. I'm surprised this reel even turned at all. It's pretty nasty. It will clean up nice. This will be like brand new brass when I get it out of the cleaner. You won't even be able to tell this reel hardly ever been used. It's because it hasn't. It's just sat a long time. It's got all this crud up in it, you know. So we're going to give it another chance of life. I think this reel may go on my website, or my, sorry, not website, my eBay store, which is the Vintage Fisherman 1, the number 1 at the end. All right, let's continue to chip away at this nastiness in this reel. Big chunks coming out here. Super easy to clean like that, isn't it? Like I said, I scrub all these by hand. So I try to get the thick, heavy mess out of it, so when I scrub it, I don't have to scrub so dang hard. All right, I think that's got, well, I do want to take this just gonna go in the trash. It's done. Can't get any more grease on it than that. We'll go ahead and take all of this apart. So you start out taking it apart on this end. Well, no, let's start over here. If I can get this out. Let's see if we can get this out. Sometimes these stick pretty hard. Match your screwdriver up to your slot in your screw. There we go. Like I said, I don't think this reel's ever seen salt. If it had, it wouldn't be this easy to take apart. And you've got a spring under here. Watch what I do. That spring is locked underneath that post. Take that spring and pop it out like that. And that way when you get this apart, it won't go flying across the room on you. It's an easy spring to reset. There it is. There's your spring. You've got a shim in there. The shim goes down and retains the spring. So there's the whole thing right there. Okay. All that will clean up nice. Now your selector, and the only reason we'll take it off, it's really dirty up under here and I want to scrub all that. Can't sell a dirty reel. And well, I guess it's going to get sold. I don't know. I may get a wild hair to keep it. Let's see. Sometimes these have a washer back up under here, but nothing on that one. So you got a little screw that comes out. The handle comes off. Push this forward. But watch that little spring. It will pop, but the spring has got a hook on it. It stays hooked into that shaft. Okay. Put that right there. That is completely stripped down. I can't take it any further down than that. Lots of crud down in there. That's mostly like dirt or grease that's seeped out and then dirt has just stuck to it. I've got brushes that I use over there that I'll run down in there and clean all those things out. There's a big clump of grease right there. Alright, it'll come out okay. I'll take the smaller little pick here and kind of pick around so that everything comes out clean. Get the little, like a dental pick almost. You could use a toothpick for this. It would be non-marring, which would be good. I've always just used a small screwdriver. I've never had any trouble scratching anything up. Alright, we can take care of that, no problem. Now the rotor, alright, we'll start out here. Take this elastic locking nut off. Oh, something don't look right out here. I think they got it together wrong. Somebody's been in here. Yeah, maybe not. Just looks funny. There's a washer in the nut. The line guide, which is just nasty. And then over on this side, now here's where, if you're gonna have a problem with one of these Silver Series reels, is these screws, because they go, the holes are drilled all the way through the rotor, and when the things spin around and get salt water on it, that salt water kicks up in there and corrodes on these little screws. And I have broken off dozens of these things over the years, and it just breaks my heart every time. Sometimes I can fix them, sometimes the reel's just junk. You know, you can see the corrosion up in there. That's a counterbalance weight. We'll take that out and clean it and put it back in. Over here, this is where your bell spring is, and it's just gunked up. Match your screwdriver to your screw slot. Hold on to this, because now your bell spring can't really go anywhere. So I still got this cover on there, but you don't want all these parts falling off. So you got screw, stand off, and then your bell arm. Bell spring just popped. So we're good there. This is the other screw that will stick sometimes. We'll go slow with it. All right, we got it. Cover can come off before you take the screw all the way out. And just note that the long arm on the bell spring went out towards the bell arm. The bell spring is good, it's not broke. Now I also take off the anti-reverse cog. So note how it's on there. Okay, you really can't get it wrong. You'll know immediately when you put it together. You just take it off and do it again. I take those 3 screws out. Sometimes those are stuck good if it's been used in salt water. This reel, I don't know what they use this reel for. It's been used, but it hasn't been used in salt water. That I can assure you. Okay, so the cog is loose. You see how it's keyed to go on there, and you can't really get it wrong. You'll notice when you put it together which side was towards the spool, which wasn't. There's the 3 screws, and there it is. That's the whole reel took apart. It'll get cleaned up and put back together in a day or two. I've got other projects going on. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back on this pretty nice old Daiwa 4000C. And my next step in this repair is to glue this plate back on, or this emblem back on this plate. So how I do it is I take some denatured alcohol. Get my screwdriver and open it up. I'll take a clean rag, which I can reuse for other things later, so it's not a waste. Get some alcohol in it. I don't have any flames around my bench, okay? And you're going to take that alcohol, clean the back side of that emblem really good. I've already scraped off most of the glue. There might be a little bit here. You really want to get that glue off of there, because if you glue, whoops, well, we're knocking off everything here. If you put your glue on that old glue, it's just going to pull off again. So I'm going to let that dry. Hang on a minute. I've got Q-tips going everywhere here. Alright, all those found their way to the floor, of course. Then also, you know, a little bit more alcohol. I use this denatured alcohol for a lot of stuff. You can clean bearings in it, actually. Then take your cover. You can see where I've took a wire brush, a small, like a gun cleaning brush. That's not wire, but a copper or brass wire brush, kind of like that one. And carefully clean that old glue off. It takes a little bit of scrubbing sometimes. And don't worry about scratching the paint a little bit. You're going to have that sealed off. Let that dry for a minute. Rag's still good. Close off the alcohol so it doesn't get spilt. Now, I use, see if I can find it. I use this Loctite Extreme Glue. There's a lot of brands. This stuff works pretty good. It doesn't dry super hard, but it does dry hard. You want it to have a little bit of softness to it. I think it's pretty good for the sunlight and stuff. I'll have to be careful with it when I put the reel together, that I don't, you know, knock this emblem loose, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. But here, I'm going to get back in camera. I'll put a pretty liberal coatings. It won't squeeze out. Except for maybe right there at the screw hole. Okay. This emblem will find its way into its own place because it's, there we go. Got a little bit squeezed out there. I'll take a Q-tip and just kind of get it out of the way there. It won't be set up by the time I build this reel, because I'm going to build it right now actually, but I'll be careful with it. So that's how I do those emblems, and it's a common problem on these Daiwa Silver Series. The emblems fall off a lot. The bearings, they're going to be a little swirly, but they're not crunchy, they're not locked up. They turn, I think they're just going to make a swirl noise. They're not high dollar bearings. I could probably take this seal or shield off of it and take a better look at them. They've been soaking in oil, and I did boil them out. They had a lot of gunk up in them. We'll try them and see. Let's build the rotor. The first thing is this cog. Pretty sure it goes, let's see, how's it going to be spinning? Yeah, it goes like that. Okay, what I'm going to do here is put, oh goodness, that's way too much grease. Let's put a little dab of grease. I'm actually just going to smear a little bit of grease all the way around it. So if for some reason some guy buys this thing or gal and they want to go surf fishing, and they get a little salt up in there, it won't be the end of the world. It should not corrode. And you just drop the screws down in each one of those holes. And you know, I keep my tools, when I tear a reel down, I keep the same tools out that I tore it down with, because obviously you're probably going to need them to put it back together. And it's wanting to be difficult. I'm not sure why. There it goes. Okay, got that in there. A little bit of grease squeezed through it. One thing about this reel, it had this this lead counterweight that had popped loose. So we're going to clean it just like we did the, let me get the alcohol back out. All right. We'll take, well, get some alcohol on the Q-tip. Clean all that area where it's going to glue in there. Okay. Then you got your lead weight. Just doesn't really matter which side of it goes down. You know, it's shaped the same. You know, it'll go either way. And get the glue. That'll go in there like that, and we're going to go ahead and, even though it's going to kind of be in my way, we'll go ahead and put the cover over that. That's this side here. That'll hold that in place. Gets one screw, which is this one, I think. Something don't look right, but we'll go with it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I see what I did. That'll hold that in there. You want to glue it in so it doesn't rattle. That would suck, right? Be reeling in your reel and have to listen to a bunch of rattling. Put some grease down in here because your spring's going to kind of pop back and forth in there, and go ahead and grease that screw hole and that screw hole. And you can put some grease down in there. Don't overdo this, because if you're using this on the beach, surf fishing, this grease just attracts, just absolutely attracts sand. Sand's always blowing around the beach if you're surf fishing. If you've ever surf fished, you'll know what I'm talking about. It just, that salt spray and everything, it just always blowing. Let's put that tiny screw back in there. You can put this in, just leave it loose. And I'll show you why in a second. Now we're going to put the bail arm on there. We'll put that on like that, and hopefully this thing don't go flying apart. Whoops, see? Gotta be careful. I can't put the cover on until I get the bail arm set on this particular one. That goes on. Okay. Let's try it again. All right. That'll go on there. Now, screw. I put a little bit of oil on that outer edge and tighten it down. And when I say that spring moves, I'm going to try this without flying the spring out of there. But you see how that, all these bail springs like this, they move. So I also put grease on the top of them. And then I set the cover in there. It'll find its way home. You just gotta tinker with it a little bit sometimes. About, oh, right there. And tighten the screw down. Okay. Now, your roller. This was probably the dirtiest part of this reel, was this roller. It was pretty nasty. Glad to get it cleaned up. This one doesn't have a standoff on it. Just put it on there. I guess they changed it some over the years. I seem like I remember there being like a little standoff right there, but this one didn't have it. No, wait a minute. It did have that washer. I put the washer on the wrong side. Hold on a second. So it does take this washer. I think that's right. Yeah, we'll try it and see. It does look a little different than any I've ever done. That's bent. That bell wire's bent. And I'll tell you why. I know that. See how far off that is? That shouldn't be like that. So we're going to carefully, because don't let that thing flip with those parts sitting on there. Yeah, we can bend it some more. Bend it this way, and then bend it this way. Don't let go of it. Parts are on there. And that's a whole lot better. But I can't teach you how to do that in a video. That's just something I've been doing for years, is adjusting these bells. I don't know how to teach that, you know. Yeah, I don't think that washer went up in there. Hold on just a minute. It's tightening down too tight, so we're going to take that washer back out. Put that washer on the outside of it. Yeah, I think that's correct. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you built 100 reels the same. Sometimes they because different years, different revisions, they'll change a little something here and there. And there we go. Now the roller's rolling. Always make sure that roller rolls. You know, you'll completely mess your line up if it doesn't. That's still a bit sluggish for my. I don't like that. Oh yeah, there it goes. It's working its way in. You know, I'd like for it to be a little bit more manageable, but we'll try it and see. I can put the alcohol back up again. Put the alcohol up, John. God, leave the alcohol alone. There we go. All right, let's get on with this thing. I'm going to build this end. First thing we'll put on is the anti-reverse selector. Grease that hole up pretty good. Grease that hole up pretty good. Your shaft, selector shaft, goes through. As you remember, it's got this little spring on it. The spring is hooked to this lever. You'll put that lever, you got to kind of put it down in behind right there. Yep, that's the way it goes. Not crazy about it, but that's the way it goes. Your selector, well, that wasn't smart, was it? Hang on just a minute. Everything wants to not play nice tonight. Get back on there. All right. Now we're good. I'm gonna hold that in place. Put your lever on. I've already greased the end of that, so you put your screw in there. So it'll pop like that. We'll leave it in the anti-reverse position. The next thing is you put this spring on there. Well, I need to grease that hole pretty good because that little brass screw, for whatever reason, doesn't always like to come loose. So we'll put some grease on there. your anti-reverse lever goes like this, and that goes in, hopefully like that. Yep. Now I'm going to show you how to set this spring. I told you when I took it apart, it's not hard. You got to hook the spring on the upper side or the outside of the anti-reverse dog. Go ahead and tighten it down. It should move. Hit it with a little bit of oil. Okay. Now take that spring, pull it around. It goes in just like that, and then now put that on non-anti-reverse, and then we're gonna put the shaft in there. It might be all right. We're gonna grease everything up. Your pinion gear goes into that bushing there right in the center. It's not really a bushing on this reel. It is on pins. And I also put grease where the bearing goes up in there just to keep the bearing from sticking the next time. Sometime in the next 50 years when some other guy or gal takes this reel apart, it'll come apart easy for them. Grease the pinion gear up really good. I got that pinion gear really clean. It's got some black stains in it from the old grease, but other than that, it looks really good. I'm real happy with how the gears turned out in this thing. They're in great shape. You'll put that gear in, it goes in just like that, and then you got the retainer go in just like that. We're going to put the screws in. These always fight me because there's not a lot of room for my big fingers, as you can tell. This is a big reel. Folks, I got big hands, and you know, I'm a mechanic, and big hands and being a mechanic, it's a curse. I'm just going to say it. So I'm going to use my screw setter on these things if it will work. I had my hands in some tight areas today on a Kohler diesel engine. Yes, Kohler makes diesel engines. They used to be Lombardini. Kohler bought them out. Made in Italy, not Lamborghini, not Lamborghini, but Lombardini. Kohler bought them out a few years ago, several years ago. They're basically the same engine, just different name on them. I guess Kohler wanted to get into the diesel engine business. I don't know. Common rail diesels, of all things. The bigger ones are. And so we got that tight. I think we're going to be good. That feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and put the rotor on it and check our anti-reverse out. Give this a little bit of grease. Because, you know, I could have got that backwards, right? Not a big deal. Why am I not lining that thing up? Goodness gracious. Now, let's just see. Well, look at that. Okay, we got that. Sometimes I get it right. I put this nut back on. This is a 14 millimeter. I've already got my ratchet set up. To give it a good snug, we're talking about 20-inch pound or something. Okay. Bushing. I don't put any grease between the bushing and the housing, of course. Okay. I do. I'll put oil there. We're going to grease where the crosswind gear goes. We're going to grease that up really good. These were These were top of the line in their day, folks. Daiwa was the leader of the pack back in their day. Here's your crosswind gear. You ain't got to smother it in grease, because if you put too much on this crosswind, you'll kind of slow the reel down a little bit. But you do want some grease going around on it. There's not a lot of pressure on that gear. It just moves your spool in and out. So it's not like your drive gears. They're going to get some tension on them. And then that'll go in there like that. And then you take some more grease and smear all over top of that. Okay. And we're good there. Now let's grease this up. Like I said, I'm going to oil this. I'm going to grease the gear really good. Some people don't like these reels nowadays because they click. Well, that's what I grew up using. I love the clicking sound. Not so much for surf fish, but in surf fishing, you're just soaking bait most of the time anyway. Sometimes you'll throw metals, but maybe not necessarily with a reel this big. But, well, we threw Hopkins with them this size a lot. If the bluefish were, you know, within casting distance, we'd put a big Hopkins spoon on there and let it rip, man. Put that in there. Okay. The gear just drops right in on this reel. You got 2 shims. Got right there. You got your bearing. Let's put the bearing with the, let me put a little more oil on that bearing. It's soaking it right up. And then I'll put the open side of the bearing towards the shims. Okay, like that. Now, put your shaft in there. I give it just, on a saltwater reel, I'll give it just a little bit of grease right at the end. What that does is when it goes in there, it creates like a little bit of a saltwater barrier. Put your crosswind gear in there. I'm gonna grease it up just a little bit. That slot right there rides on that peg in that gear. And then this whole side here rides on top of that gear. And I've already got a good amount of grease in there, but move the shaft forward, drop the crosswind block in, line it up till that screw will line up for you. Oops. Take your screw, number 1 screwdriver, and get that started down in there. Okay. And let's just see how well this thing is setting up. It's doing all right. It'll be okay. Grease up your screw holes. Put your cover on. Line it up with your bearing. Put your screws in. Okay. All right, I've already lubricated this handle pretty good. We'll put a little bit more oil in here and then down in there, down in there. Tighten it down. It's already oiled there. We'll put it in. I always put some oil right here in the end to seal that off with, because there's a Teflon washer and it will go down against there and seal that shaft up. Okay, let's just see how it spins. Remember how locked? Well, yeah, I think I did a video of how locked or how slow it was. It was lube locked, so I'm real happy with that. I'm gonna be careful about how I wipe this reel down, because I don't want to slide that cover until it's completely dried. But I'm gonna get some of this excess grease off, or oil off of it. I spray my reels down with WD-40, so it gets a little bit of rust preventative on it here and there. WD-40 works great to fend off rust. Let's just see how it flips the bell. Oh Lord, yeah, that's 100 times better than it was. Okay, now let's work on the drag system. Got a Teflon washer, goes on the end of that shaft, just like that. I do not use cowls on Teflon washers. You can use a little bit of oil on them, don't hurt them. I do use cowls on leather washers, and the very first washer it goes back into this spool is leather, so I'm going to put that in there. Use a pretty generous amount on there. Not going to hurt it. Then you get, I'm going to wipe that just a little bit. I did spray that down just a little bit much. That will go in. Then you get a Teflon. I'll wipe it back a little bit. Then your eared. Then the Teflon. And then your last keyed washer. Now this keyed washer, when I pulled it out, it had a burr on it from the factory. I don't know how this drag ever actually worked. So I filed it down. I don't know if you can see, there was a bad burr right there, and I filed it down and smoothened it out. Then that goes on, and then your keeping ring. Then just clean the old spool up. When you put it on there, you just kind of line it all up. I like these Silver Series. They just kind of find their way home pretty easy for you. A little bit of grease so your brass nut up inside there doesn't get locked up. There it is. I think I'm going to put it on my store on eBay. The Vintage Fisherman 1. Fully serviced, ready to go. Line out clicker works. It's got, I said it was going to have a swirl, and it does have a swirl. Let's listen to it without the anti-reverse on. But that's not bad. They weren't much better than that brand new. We're not talking about expensive bearings there. There it is, folks. There is a Daiwa 4000C. Ready to fish. Just put some line on it. Thanks for watching the video. I'd appreciate it if you liked the video, if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel. I'm growing. I hit 5,000 views over the weekend. I'm at about 5,500 views right now. And I started out this channel really, you know, I didn't really care whether I got any views or not. I wanted to do videos on different reels to help people fix their reel. And I really don't intend on, you know, doing more than one reel, you know, one video on each type of reel. I'm not going to do like 5 videos on a 4000C. There's no point in that. And, you know, I figured there's enough reels out there. I should be able to do this for a long, long time. So, not too worried about running out of content. I'm going to be doing some fishing content pretty soon. It's the weather's beautiful here. I've just been so busy on the weekends. I'm also getting ready to downsize and move, and during that period there won't be much content coming out, unfortunately, but I'll make up for it on the other end when I get moved and get settled into wherever I end up going. So I appreciate you watching. Come on back. This is John, Vince Fisherman. Take care.